Hello, everyone. Okay, it's already 8 and we are about to start soon. So while waiting for the rest to come in and settle down, here are some housekeeping rules to take note of. Okay, so during the presentation, please mute yourself. Also switch off your camera if you're not one of the panelists or even the moderator. So if you have any questions, feel free to, insert in the chat box below, or you can actually switch on your camera and mic during the Q&A session later. All right, so before we start, I would like to thank all of you here for taking the time out for our event tonight. So ever since the pandemic, you notice that gaming has quickly emerged as one of the most popular activities during the global COVID-19 pandemic. And we also witnessed that user engagement and spending also has surged in this particular industry, especially younger generations like your Gen Z and millennials. They have spent more time on gaming as the medium was a more convenient way to spend time during the initial stay at home, orders, lockdowns, or even social distancing. So now brands, businesses, and even more people are looking forward to this craze. So the question here is, what's the craze all about? And where's the hype coming from? And what games are the panelists crazy over? Okay, so let's hear more from our panelists today. So for today's panel discussion, it's quite unfortunate that Doki from Utomic is unable to join us today due to some medical emergency. However, we still have Adrian Watkins, who have been dealing with international brands and with gamification marketing to share his experience, and also Raymond Fu, head of marketing from a multi-million-dollar gaming company called C Gamer More. All right, so Paddy, please ask away all the burning questions that you have prepared on behalf of all of us.
Okay, hi, thank you very much. Okay, so let me just get the things ready. Okay, yeah, it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday night. Okay, so for parents, so if you happen to be here in Singapore, for parents, you probably either you're very happy or very upset because for primary school kids, this is probably their last day in school, and that means that the usage of your TV will probably drop drastically when your kids are going to fight over with you on playing games. Okay, anyway, thanks very much for inviting all of us here. As mentioned by Rebecca, it's unfortunate that Mr. Doki is not able to attend. This was actually we just been informed only just 60 minutes before this event due to a family medical emergency. So yeah, so I'm gonna apologize for that. So anyway, today we have Raymond. Raymond, can you put up your hand? Okay, that's Raymond.
You see my hand?
Yeah. And then we have Adrian. Yeah, Adrian, can you put up your hand? Yeah, okay, that's a very cool wallpaper. Okay, so today is we're gonna talk about this the evolutions of the gaming industry. So probably let me just sort of kick off. Especially for the past few weeks, I think things has gotten quite a bit hot. Partly it's because I think weeks back, the CEO of Facebook, Mr. Mark, okay, he actually announced about this metaverse and how Facebook will be adopting it, with its business model, moving towards it. And also, a lot of people are probably not very familiar with metaverse, and this is where things get very interesting because in the an hour-long video that when he was doing the introduction, it was actually referred to as a shared virtual platform that people or user can easily access through different devices. That means be it from a computer, from your laptops, phones, smart TV, so on and so forth. You can actually move around in your digital environment. Okay, and apparently, they also invested. Facebook themselves, the parent company, Meta, which they changed the name, also invested billions of dollars into creating this metaverse. And part of it is also to fight against or to pit against Microsoft, Google, Apple, or even Snap, Sony, who have been in the news a lot on what is metaverse. So inevitably, this is also the part where it got the gaming ecosystems. A lot of gamers start to get very excited about it because when you have a metaverse, how is it going to change the way people are going to play games? And then at the same time, NFT. Probably if anyone who is actually into the crypto, you probably know that NFT started to go a bit more mainstream compared to about 2-3 years ago. And now you start to have games rolling out, or what we know as blockchain games or NFT games. And with metaverse, with NFT, and of course, all the enhancements that you have been seeing in the gaming platforms, things are getting a lot more. So which is why today we are very fortunate to have Raymond and Adrian himself, both of them, to come here to share with us about their thoughts about the evolutions of this gaming industry. So okay, so that was my introductions, and so let's jump straight in. Okay, first and foremost, I think everybody will be very interested to know who are the two of you. So perhaps Raymond, Adrian, you guys may want to sort of like introduce yourself to the attendee, who you are, what do you do, and perhaps you can also share what kind of games are you actually playing or you're going crazy over recently.
Hi, let me go first. Okay, my name is Raymond, the Senior Marketing Manager for CGM, the CGM Award. I'm in CGM is the help to taking care of the CGM marketing initiative. So taking care of the marketing vertical, and also look after the multiple region of the sales and marketing activity. And it's talking about games. Why recently I mean not recently, but I'm still playing this game called Mobile Legends. It's a mobile game. Yeah, very interesting. It's a real-time strategy game. Yeah, so mobile game for me is actually very handy, so it's easier for me. Right.
How about you, Adrian?
I'm a big MLBB fan myself, Raymond. Hey, everybody, I'm Adrian. I'm the Growth and Marketing Director for a leading ad tech company globally called Ad Colony. But really, I'm just an overall business growth guy, which really means marketing, sales, strategy, really focused on sort of marketing solutions and technology solutions. This is a really interesting panel for me because over the last couple of years, I've been dissecting the gaming landscape, especially through a marketing lens, so that I can advise brands on how best to actually embrace marketing solutions on a day-to-day basis. This is what we do at Ad Colony. So I'm looking forward to this chat today. However, when I'm not talking about games, I'm playing games. So as a Brit, although I don't sound it, I'm from Manchester. So as a diehard Man United fan, I told you I'd slip it in there, Paddy. I enjoy dipping into the FIFA football franchises always. It's a nice snackable game, either taking Man United to the wonders of yesteryear, actually winning a title would be nice in the next decade, or playing against my friends online because gaming is about community. But I also love playing open world games, so like Fallout 3, Fallout 4, showing my age there, and the Outer Worlds. But everyone plays games for different motivations. So I also like playing things like PUBG because it's snackable. If I'm sitting on an MRT or in a grab for 20 minutes, then I can have a quick game of that. Whereas an open world game, I might disappear for several hours and surface in the morning still. So there you go. So I'm looking forward to today. Thanks for inviting me.
It must be quite cool, for you guys to be in the industry that you love, and your boss probably don't come after you when you're playing games. Okay, it seems quite interesting. So now, Adrian, you mentioned that you are what, Man U fan, okay? So,
I am.
So just to ask you, do they have any games on that?
Do they have any games
on football games like Man U where it comes in with the characters and everything?
Yeah. So there's a game published by Electronic Arts called FIFA. FIFA 22 is the current one. They bring one out every year, refreshed squads, and you can literally play as a manager for an entire season or seasons, where you can either be a player or a manager. And you can, if you're any good, and I'm not bad because I've been playing for too many decades of this game, a few when I had hair I started. You get quite good at it. So you can play sort of solo one-on-one with the computer, but you can also, Carl. But you can also play as you can play against your friends as well, which is quite fun. And in fact, it's a probably billion-dollar industry now in Electronic Arts, in FIFA specifically, where you can actually buy packs of cards and microtransactions. They spawned microtransactions at the beginning, where it's almost like top trumps if you remember those, but playing as a game. And Carl, all true Manchester fans are from Man United.
Okay.
I saw the comment.
So let's say, for example, as you mentioned, okay, FIFA, probably every year they have their own new versions and everything. But do you see the evolutions in terms of the game console? Probably when the very, very first early generations of, like Atari, there's always a lot of limitations. I mean, compared to where we are today. We are talking about bits. And then where today you're talking about playing on a 4K TV, playing on an 8K TV. I mean, in terms of all this, in terms of the game itself, the game console, do you see the game console chasing after the development of the game, or do you see the game being developed chasing after the console?
Well, it's like all technology. I mean, I'm old enough to remember FIFA before there were consoles, when it was an arcade machine in a sort of a community venue where you would have two buttons and a joystick and you would play each other. And that was really quite, if you look back on it now, really quite bad. But at the time, it was cutting edge, and they had the IP license to name all the characters. It's obviously morphed a lot. When I was younger, I was much more of a PC guy. I still like playing things like Civilization and those kind of things on PC, the sort of strategy games. I'm lucky enough to have a PlayStation 5. I managed to get one. I'm based in Singapore, and I still managed to get one in Singapore. It was difficult, but I got one. So
show off.
Oh well, it's my claim to fame for the night. There you go. No, but FIFA 22 on the PlayStation 5, and I played FIFA 22 on the PlayStation 4 Pro, is massively different. But the gameplay changes as well, right? So as technology gets better, the gameplay gets better. It used to be, as I said, two buttons and a joystick. You can now do trick shots. I'm not so good at it actually, but trick shots, and you can hit the ball. You can do keepy uppies. I scored a goal yesterday, which was a scorpion goal. If anyone knows what that is, pure fluke. I don't quite know what buttons I mashed, but it won me the FA Cup, so it was nice. So technology is always going to lead transformation, but you still have to have the ability to know. FIFA's slightly more unusual because it is a franchise that's been around for many decades, but they still have to evolve. So they evolve the gameplay, they evolve the looking, sort of the skins of the characters. They evolved the defending a few years ago, which in itself is very challenging because I was much better at the old defending. It's much more realistic now, which makes me sad because I'm not as good. But it evolves. But technology will only allow the game. You still got to have the developers, the coders, to be able to create a masterpiece. So it's very symbiotic, I think. And yes, you can put it on a better TV, and yes, you can. It can be bigger. It can be better pixels and better ambient lighting and all the rest of it. But you still have to have a bloody good game.
Okay, that's interesting. So Raymond, in your line of business, you guys are serving a lot of different clienteles with different users and all this. So one question that I want to check with you, what are the popular games? Is it being driven by console? I mean, I'm talking about like those Xbox, PS5, or is it more driven by smartphones? I mean, do you see a huge difference now?
One thing I would say that when talking about gamings, right, it's all about the gamers. So the people who play the games. So it depends. So we will see that where is the audience is. I would say that right now, mobile game will be the lead because they have the most user on mobile games right now. So that means that all this game right now, for instance, like even Genshin Impact, I think it's a very hit game right now. So actually it developed in a cross-platform. So people can play on mobile, and also they can play on console, and also they can play on PC as well. So right now the games is developed according to the gamers' behavior and also their preference, I would say.
Okay, so that means what you're saying here is that it may actually be the gameplay, rather than the devices.
Yeah, true.
Because where I came from, by the way, I believe I'm older than Adrian. Okay, where I came from, okay, is that we select the console based on the number of games that they support. It was a more of a reverse. I still remember my very first device was Atari, and then it was a huge upgrade to Nintendo and all this. So during that time, we were more like, I have this console because I can play all these kind of games, and then they will just keep adding games. But I think in today's world, it seems like the games, it probably doesn't really quite matter, unless of course we are talking about exclusivity.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite matter, and that you can probably play around cross-platform.
Yeah.
So
True.
if this is the case, then how will a metaverse? I mean, I'm just making a guess. How will a metaverse, where someone like Facebook trying to push it out, Mark Zuckerberg is going to push it out. How do you think this may change the gaming industry?
I guess what I see gaming in metaverse is kind of like it's more about social, I would say. It's not about the gaming as I guess gaming experience will be the secondary. The primary would be the how people social inside the game. And I guess this would be also help the increase the stickiness of the game. Yeah, I think the best is about, I mean, if a game developer, they come out with a game, if there's no people playing, then it doesn't serve the purpose. So I would say that metaverse, I mean, it will help people more socialize. I think gaming wise is just the mechanism.
Okay, that's interesting. By the way, Adrian, there's a Benny saying that never walk alone in the chat box. Okay.
Well, somebody had to yawn.
So Adrian, what do you think of what Raymond has shared? It's probably not about the devices alone. Probably it's a community base. It comes to metaverse.
It absolutely is, but let's think about what the metaverse actually is for a second, because gaming is only a part of it, right? So the metaverse now and the metaverse in 5 years' time, maybe. So right now, it's the intersection of entertainment, gaming, shopping, community, where you can play games, yes, but you can also buy land, you can earn digital items, you can earn NFTs, you can lend money, and the whole metaverse as a whole is a way of life. So it's like it's you online. So you're choosing an avatar, you're hanging out with your friends, and it's even where digital goods are the same value as, or becoming the same value as, their physical counterparts, right? And we know that from, if you think about someone like a Gucci, they sold a handbag, a virtual bag, so pixels, for more money than the real thing in Roblox, right? So and there's many other versions of this. So the metaverse is a concept, and people interchange metaverse in multiple different ways. Some correctly, some incorrectly, some we don't know yet, right? And for everything that Facebook tries to say, about it's not going to be a bunch of people walking around the street with goggles strapped to their faces. It's just not going to happen, right? Tech might catch up, there might be glasses, but that's not what it is, and we can talk about that a little bit more by all means. But I agree, it's very much community. It's a way of life, right? So the metaverse one day, at the moment you can enter it through an avatar, but eventually it's going to be like your digital twin online. You're not going to be in a situation. If you shut your laptop, if you're entering it through your laptop, it's not going to shut. It's not going to close. It's not going to reset. It's going to continue. So there'll be multi-layered screens all over it. Whether it's a phone, whether it's the big TV in your living room, whether it's anything else, a tablet or something, you're always going to be connected to layers of the metaverse. So you're always going to be hanging out with friends and participating in multiple different things, which becomes massively interesting for, when I look at it through a marketing lens. We talk about that by all means, but I think we have to be really clear on what the metaverse is, and frankly what it isn't. And just to say, Facebook, what it is it's building for the metaverse. It's not building a metaverse, right? It's building, it wants to get credibility from sort of working closely and collaboratively with businesses, governments, regulators. It's doubled down on AR and VR with goggles, but it's not, it's not building the metaverse. It's building for the metaverse. So we've got to be really careful about what we define the metaverse is, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I think the definition is still evolving, because
Yes.
I think everybody has their own interpretations, especially now with the technology has sort of advanced much more compared to probably in the 1990s, where the newer games start to so-called the evolutions and everything. But I think looking at the way things are going with 2022 coming in quite fast, and also plus the past 2 years, almost 2 years of a pandemic, it somehow probably changes a lot of people of the way they interact with the games. I mean, well, I believe almost everybody somehow, somewhere, we have sort of like work from home. And of course, not everybody going to be working from home all the time. Some of us will probably play games officially or unofficially. So I think the experience will probably be a bit different. I mean, if you're talking about, switching on a computer, switching on a PS4, PS5, and then start playing games, whereas Metaverse is probably anywhere, everywhere in different devices, continuing not just game, but different experience and everything. So now, question here. In the past 18 months, 24 months during the pandemics, I understand that, Raymond, in your line of business itself, well, you're smiling, okay. Hopefully you get a big bonus. Understand that the gaming ecosystem has boomed, and there were lots of players, lots of people buying top-ups and stuff like that. I mean, this is what C Gamer Mall is about. Perhaps you can share a bit more, what had happened the past, 18 months, and how you guys as a front line, not the essential, of course, as a front line, when people come over to you, how do you guys, cater or manage when such a boom comes?
All right, cool. Actually, it's really surprised us about this pandemic happens, right? First of all, is what we're going to settle is our daily operation. Because pandemic comes, we know there's a business opportunity, there's a lot of sales coming in. So how our internal operation need to cater for all this like height of the demand. So okay, there's a first layer we need to settle. The second layer, which is how we going to engage with the customer, and how we can like during this period we capture the most sales that we can, as much as we can, right? Because this is the I could say it's opportunity, but maybe for some people might feel like, okay, this is a struggle for them. All right, for CGM, right, during this period, like we really have do a lot of changes for internal operation wise. Like we need to change our policy, change the way we work in order still continue to serve the community, serve the gamers. And for us, like the front line, the marketing part, right? So we also need to, based on the gamers' behavior during that period, and also based on the gamers, the demands during that period, and also the competitor. Yeah, we change our marketing strategy accordingly. One is that we do much more on the social media, because that's a way people spend a lot of time on social media during that period. They consume a lot of content. They watch a lot of live streaming. They do a lot of like online activities. So during this period, like we reaching out. We previously, like, we do have like some of the marketing activity on this like offline, and during the pandemic period, then we have to totally switch our marketing activity to online, put all the effort into the online or full force. Yeah. And we not just only we hire the third party, the streamer agency to help us to run all the streaming, and even though our staff is themselves, they also I also put them online to do the live stream, yeah, to engage, to play with our gamers, the customer here. Yeah. And during the pandemic period, especially those social game, I think they have a lot of they have better response, like Animal Crossing, Minecraft, Roblox, and anything. Among us during the period, also a lot of people play. Yeah, so our strategy also need to change accordingly. So to target those like we call it console gamers. Yeah, so we need to like have a very good segmentize on our marketing strategy as well. So in order to be targeted.
So Raymond, one question.
Yeah.
You can choose not to answer. So during the daytime versus the nighttime, the number of gamers, are they more in the daytime or more in the nighttime?
Honestly, I found that the daytime engagement actually quite a lot though.
Quite a lot. Okay, so
yeah.
So as a bosses, we probably have to cover one eyes. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting because I remember what you just shared about C Gamer Mall, SEAGM.com. when you guys are, supporting, because you are basically a portal, and where customers come in to do the top ups of games and credits and all this. So, and you also mentioned that you guys also try to reach out to your gamers, your clientele customers, all this. So I want to ask the question on the Adrian side. Adrian, so you see, when the pandemic first started, there was probably late 2019 or stuff like that. I mean, there are lots of reports coming out. So who has it first? It doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to ask is that a lot of brands were actually caught off guard. Okay, no, a lot of them were like they thought that, hey, probably this lockdown may be only a temporary, and we just continue to sell what we've been doing, execute our business the way it is. But suddenly, probably first month, second month, third month, and then that's where people start to realize, oh my God, there's a very high chance a lot of people are going to work from home, and the way we engage, the way we've been doing business, all this could have already changed a lot. And one of the industry that booms the most, relatively, is actually the gamer themselves. So from your expertise, I mean, I understand that you are a growth, you're more in the growth of this. But how should or how had brands try to engage and these groups of gamers?
It's a really good question, right? So if we take a step back from it just for a second, right, and think about what marketing actually is, right? So it's about finding the right customer at the right time in the right place with the right message. Really straightforward, right? And hopefully hoping to get them to do something. So you're absolutely right. A load of brands have struggled with this. Industry experts help. But you're right, quite a few people were caught off guard with the whole gaming thing. And just to throw out a few stats, because it might be quite interesting for people on this thing tonight. Gaming is by far the largest marketing channel in the world, right? So if we look at APAC, where we're based, more than half the world's gamers are in APAC, right? So in the last 12 months, people have spent probably 1 trillion hours playing games across all different platforms. And they've probably watched another 25 billion hours of gaming streams. Now, they're projected to spend, by the end of this year, 2021, probably 190 billion USD. Now, if you think about some of those stats, right, it's quite astounding, because that's more hours in social media and watching TV, and that spend is more than a combined box office of music and movies in 2020. So just to think about that, right? But in answer to your question, why is this important? Because what we have to understand is that everyone's a gamer. There's that old kind of stereotype or perceived type, right? Which was probably, well, it certainly was me. It was probably you, Paddy, because we're not too far off the same age, where it used to be the young boy in his bedroom, at 3 a.m. eating pizza, playing World of Warcraft or something similar. But it couldn't be further from the truth, right? Probably half the world, or certainly in APAC, are female, they're mums, they're baby boomers, they earn decent amounts of income. Now, in marketing world, we then split them into personas, and we map against target audience and different sort of mechanisms for that, which I'm happy to go into. But the overriding thing about this is brands go where the customers go, or the potential customers go. Now, brands are realizing that the majority of their customers are spending more time and money on gaming, so they're trying to work out how to engage them in this ecosystem. So, I mean, that's the overall, right? But every brand, to some degree, has a different target audience, has a different value proposition, has a different narrative. So they're trying to work out how to position their own product into such a vehicle, whether it's the metaverse, whether it's mobile advertising or mobile gaming. And the problem is, there's so much confusion in market. With every great new innovation, there's so many buzzwords, there's so many platforms, there's so many metrics, and there's just a whole load of confusion, often, which is, not, there are often reasons for creating confusion. So it's trying to work out what this means. So the challenges for marketers is speed of transformation. Digital is evolving so fast. It's trying to understand what's important now. And again, so many platforms. But actually what it really comes down to, and a lot of marketing comes down to, is data. So how do you get that data legally? How do you refresh the data? How do you understand the data? And that is incredibly tough. But marketers realize that they have to be part of that ecosystem, and they have to continually scale to either refresh their customer base, because You know, we're all getting a bit older. Some of us probably older than others. But you know, you're going to go after the Gen Zs where it makes sense. But new digital platforms have changed the traditional path to purchase, and they've also changed the consumer's product discovery mechanism. So there are many, many different ways to do this. In obviously our colony, we what's the most simple way of looking at it, right, is value exchange. We see a lot of demand for value exchange, particularly in Gen Z. Is that a greatest example is you're playing a game, you run out of lives, you've got a choice. You can either wait for that life to respawn, could be 10 minutes, could be an hour, could be 24 hours, or you can choose to watch a TVC or a small video, possibly gamified video, you know, where you're you know, popping the COVID spores or whatever it is to get, you know, a bottle of Dettol, for example, at the end of it or something. But you're choosing to actively participate in that because there's a value exchange. And that is the fundamental shift. Now, what COVID has done is it's meant that there are more people at home, particularly in certain markets where lockdown is still quite prevalent, and certainly for the last God knows how long in Singapore it was the same. You know, you're basically glued to your phone. Now, if you've got the phone in your hand, it's already interactive. So we're moving it around. We're swiping left, swiping right, swiping up, swiping down, whatever it is. We're playing a game. So this is what the brands, from a mechanism perspective, are trying to understand and trying to work out. Now, there's so much we could talk about from sort of the gaming perspective and the ecosystem, which is basically a funnel. But the reality is the brands have to work out where their customers are and how they can serve the right message to them at the right time in the right place.
Okay, that's a very good insights on this. So let's say, for example, Raymond, you know, when you guys are now engaging a lot of players and all this, well, I understand that your market is also pretty sizable in APAC also. You know, headquarters is in Malaysia. So where you know, where some countries are start to open up and all this, of course, there are gamers that may continue to play or probably start to play a bit lesser because you know, when it opens up, probably means that you need to go back to office, but unless you find some opportunity to hide in the toilet to play games or something like that. Yeah. So when before the pandemic happens, no, you guys were life goes on, and then when pandemic hits, you sort of evolve to cater to this group. So now with 2022 coming, okay, of course, I know that usually in November, December, it's probably your peak periods and all this. And yeah, but in this case, where do you see Gamer More as a as a part of the ecosystem? How do you see when countries start to open up again? You know, how do you prepare from a company perspective? Because what I'm trying to ask is that you know, things changes very fast. Sometimes it opens up and then a month later lockdown again, and then it opens up and then lockdown again. So this means that companies like yourself or even the companies that Adrian's advised is pretty unpredictable. So how do you manage such kind of risk from a CGM Mob as a marketing guy?
True. Yeah, because like the pandemic, I think the situation seems like sometimes good, sometimes bad, right? For instance, the country is like planning to open up the borders, but there's somehow that like some of them like quite skeptical as well. So for CGM, right, so far during the past 2 years, so we actually have like we take this opportunity, we try to capture as much as our customer data. So we study their data, we do a really good dashboard to like really analyze them. All right, so actually we are preparing for the future. So those that are coming in, those customers joining our register as our user right now. So go through, I mean, through our analysis, right? So we hope even like after like the pandemic over, or even like maybe like 2022, things is getting better, or they might play lesser, but we're still able to connect with them. Because this is we think this is a more long run plans, because owning the customer and owning their data and provide the right solution or the right product, right marketing tactic to them, which is help us to go further. Yeah. So CGM wise, like, okay, I know currently for Malaysia, right, quite open up. So the player, I mean the gamer might get busier in their own real life. Yeah. But then gamer, they're still gamer. They still play game eventually, I think. Okay. So one day they still will play. And then their children will getting grow older, and also they will join their game as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, especially when you're playing your games and then the kids are probably sitting down there. So, okay, that's a bit too violent. So let me get something cheaper, and then that's where you buy another games for them.
True.
And you probably only have one big TV, and the kids was like, I want to play. The parents want to watch TV. Let's buy another TV. So I think somehow it drives the ecosystem, it drives the economy and everything. Adrian, so now just now I asked the question regarding the brands and all these. I understand that your replies are probably targeted at those brands that are probably already a bit established and everything. So let's say I know you're also very active in the startup ecosystem. Okay, well, in fact, you are a mentor for quite a few of startups and everything, and well, in fact, you're quite famous for that. So now, question. Okay, if I'm just a small little startup who just started, in the gaming ecosystems, probably I'm involved in gamifications, probably buying top ups, buying skins and everything, and then I want to gamify the whole entire thing. But the problem is that now I have no idea where is this virus going to go. Okay, today may be Delta, tomorrow can be any kinds. I mean ABC all the way until Z. If I'm a startup myself and I want to engage my clientele, but the problem is I'm not in transitions of some are stuck at home where the only way that I can reach out to them is probably through a screen, whether it's social media, on the phone, on the laptops, whatever, or website. But some of them will be out. So as a startup itself, I want to get my brands to go out to let them know. Because gaming, I mean gamers themselves, I'm not a gamer myself, but I do have a lot of friends who are gamers. They eat and they live and they breathe very differently from the rest of us. So the engagement will probably be a bit different. So let's say, what kind of advice will you give if I'm a startup founders who just started and then I want to engage this group of people to say, come use my product, come try my tools, not a game itself, but try to use how should I engage them in this kind of transition period?
That's a really good question. There's different ways to answer this. So let's take a couple of hypotheses here. So, but let's create. I like to talk about frameworks and ecosystems. So, the first thing is if you're a startup, let's say you've got some funding, but you've got some money to spend on marketing, because otherwise it's a moot point. The first thing is you've got to decide whether you want somebody to fulfill an action or you want to explain to them what you are. So, is it brand awareness or product awareness, or is it conversion or acquisition or something like that? Is it a hard metric at the end? Now, there are different ways that one can do that. For me, it really comes back to, and I know that Raymond had mentioned it earlier on, it comes back to data. Data is key for a lot of this stuff. It's like, who are your, hopefully if you've done some good strategy as a startup, you already know who your potential customers are. You already know who are going to be, and they will be different. It could be as simple as male or female. It could be male, female, high net worths, disposable incomes, mums. There are multiple different sort of types of persona that one can use, but it's really important to understand who they are so you can then work out where they go on the internet, because it always comes back to right message, right place, right time for the right cost. So the very first thing I would do as a startup in this scenario, and I've had these conversations with many startups, is I would sit with them and I'd say, who are your customers, or who do you want your customers to be? Because it may not be the same thing. If you only have a small amount of money to invest, or you only want to invest a small amount of money, let's start by spending small packets of money to try and define where they are and test a hypothesis, test the creative, test the messaging, all this kind of stuff. It still comes back to relevance. And one thing I would say that I sort of touched on earlier on is that I kind of live by the 3 pillars, right? And I would, as any sort of startup, or frankly, corporate, big corporation, there are sort of 3 pillars, all very achievable in gaming. is three things. It's like relevance. Why should I, as a customer, care about your brand or your product? Do you understand me? Now, again, if you're talking to a mum, an older mum, like maybe a Singapore mum, or if you're talking to a Gen Z, again, the execution, the message, the creative execution, the production, the game will all be very, very different. But it's still very important to to harmonize, find that brand affinity, that brand love. So the first thing. The second thing is, if I'm going to go and be your customer, what's in it for me as a consumer? I go back to value exchange. It could be as simple as, I'm going to watch an ad to get a life, or it could be as more complicated as, I'm going to go and buy 5 cans, I'm making this up, 5 bottles, I should say, of Sprite, each which have a SKU, an ID, like a long sort of random number under the bottle cap. And when I collect them all, I go onto this app, which is the business, hopefully, and I put them in, and I get I get a cape, or I get a skin, or I get a power up, or I get something that's relevant to me in my gaming ecosystem. And then the other one is innovation. There's a lot of perception around, there's a lot of buzz around privacy and data at the moment, which all brands and particularly startups have to make sure that they don't fall foul of, because it can be very expensive, but also that they don't get tarnished with it. So it's, how are you going to protect my data if I am your customer? So number one, personas. Number two, which kind of everything falls from that, is like, what's your value proposition? Define the problem that you're trying to solve. Why are these? Sorry, define the problem. Who are your customers? How are you going to communicate with those customers? Where do they go online? Probably because it's cheaper. And then how do you track your assumptions? How do you validate whether these actually make sense? How do you see, actually, you know what? They saw 3 red ads and a blue ad. They didn't convert. They saw 3 blue ads and a red ad. They converted. So it's starting to really drill down and test, or it's mass buy and hope for the best. But that's kind of quite old school digital marketing now. But everything comes back to, what are you trying to solve as a business, which hopefully is why you got funding, and how are you going to execute against it, and who are your target audience, and how do you reach them, and then how do you validate your assumptions and then do more of it, and do a lot more of it, and then spin off a second hypothesis and do the same thing again. And that way you start to stack up hopefully multiple different types of persona and therefore customer.
That's a very good advice. Thanks. Okay, so for those, I understand that for those that are running in these ecosystems, you guys may want to catch up with Adrian separately to ask him more. I think he can probably help you guys to go much faster also. Okay, so Raymond, coming back to you. Okay, understand that in CGamer Mall, you guys sell a wide range of products. Of course, there are people, the different types of items will probably sell better than others and everything. But I understand that in the earlier conversation that I had with you, is that when you guys you get all the data, you analyze and all this. But it seems like because CGamer Mall has been around for quite a while. Okay, I mean the history is quite long.
14 years.
14 years, yeah. That's like, well, half of my age. So anyway, okay. So let's say, for example, I also understand that there may be people, there may be your customers who had followed you guys since day one, and then as everybody grows up, they start to introduce your service to their kids. Okay, and I also understand that CGamer Mall itself is you guys are positioned yourself as very friendly to the the employees and basically the people, the community itself. For such kind of positioning, I understand that it also helps a lot. Not only just, hey, I'm not here to sell you. Buy from me, I get it from me, and then end of story, and then that's where the relationship ends. But my understanding is that the CGamer Mall positioning is actually pretty unique in the sense that we are not just anyone who sell it to you. We are also gamers ourselves. And then this is also where we interact with you, and we run talk shows and stuff like that to get people. Okay, so where do you see CGamer Mall, I mean, from your perspective as a marketing, to continue to engage such kind of customers where over time they may grow up together with the games, where games may get a bit more complicated, but at the same time, there are also games that are a bit more for the kiddos. How do you position yourself on that? Because your kind of customers can be pretty wide. Okay, from someone who's very, very old to someone who's very, very young. How do you spread your marketing in this case to reach out to them?
Interesting. Okay, such an interesting question. All right, cool. Yes, correct. We've been in the market for like 14 years, right? What we do, I think that I just do a bit of review. Actually, we do have some customers. They've been supporting us since day one. Yeah, and then we will celebrate our anniversary, and then we send some gift to them to show our appreciation to all these loyal customers. Yeah, and I found that okay, wow, actually we do have some numbers of our customers since day one, and this much of customer really appreciate them. We send some gift to them to thanks them, in our anniversary months, right? Okay, so the gamers, they still play a game even when they grow old, but then their behavior, their spending power, and the time that invest inside the game might change from time to time. Okay, but I think for CGM, right, we are here not just want to sell you the product or sell you the service only. We're actually here to try to build the community itself. So we built a gaming community. So we recently, this year, we actually have formed our Sam Night eSport organization. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We believe that eSport is one of the best tool to engage and also to consolidate the community. Yeah. Because I think building a community, a loyal community, so we help the company go further. Yeah, I mean, even when they're old, they still can support their favorite game, their favorite eSport team as well. And in our blueprint plans, our eSport initiative, actually, we not just restricted in online, so we also try to bring it offline as well. So we do have a series of very exciting plans in next year. So we will have some offline engagement with all our customers. So in a marketing, as a marketer, right? Last time we were always like very focusing on all these like traditional conventional marketing initiative, but later on we very evolved into digital marketing. Everything goes online, everything is like social media, whatever, like Google ads and all these things, right? But right now I would say that marketing is no longer talking about online marketing or digital marketing or offline marketing. It's about marketing, just about everything. So I believe that okay, if we are focusing on online engagement, definitely we also need to taking care of this offline engagement as well. So, and then like for instance, what you mentioned at the earlier, so metaverse. So people, even right now, we have to take as a marketing, we need to take care of the virtual experience as well. So I think it would be very interesting for CGM wise, right? Customer, they are everywhere, and also our marketing strategy and initiative have to be everywhere as well.
That's interesting. So, okay, so guys, here's a report that I saw recently, just to share with everybody here. This report, well, the short version of it is in the 1990s, and then in the 1990s, a lot of evolutions of the hardware, the Nintendos and a whole bunch of all this, they get enhanced and then they got better and better. And then fast forwards to 2010, okay, during the year 2010s onwards, just in US itself, 1/3 of the global video games are actually, they support up to almost about 2,300 development companies, just in US itself, and then over 525 publishing house companies. There are those involved in the hardware, software manufacturing, service providers, distributors, and so on and so forth. And indirectly and directly, there were almost about 66,000 directly employed workers in the ecosystem. And then indirectly, there are almost about 220,000. Okay. So now fast forward to today, okay, 2021, 2022, and all this, the numbers have tripled much faster than it is. So now question here is, the ecosystem is growing so big that the games that we play are probably not just the games that we used to play. Now you have NFT, blockchain games coming in, crypto-related games that are all coming in. But what I'm trying to say here is that, but somehow, somewhere, certain games, certain governments, authorities will probably see that games will just always remain as game. Okay, we don't talk about games that have elements of gambling, but crypto starts to come in where it becomes gray. NFT starts to come in where it becomes a bit gray here and there. Where do you see the future of gaming that may actually just evolve into blockchain games? Because, for example, you probably know XC Infinity, Idle Cyber, Meta Wars, Sandbox 3D. A lot of these kind of games are the very popular that are related to crypto. Okay, where will this be going? Maybe both of you want to share with us some insights or what may happen, or do some prediction into it.
Let me go first. Okay. I guess that it's about demands about the consumer or about the gamers. Right? So I last time I believe that government are very restricted and very reluctant about this blockchain, all this coin, Bitcoin, and also like later days I believe that most of the government, many governments in many countries, they are started to accept this, and also all this like business like the started to look into the importance of the blockchain and all this NFT, right? So for this moment, we may see that there are a lot of restriction right now, but from time to time, I guess this would be changed. So people will getting more acceptance, and also government will, the policy wise, will also getting more catered to all these NFT and blockchain things. I hope I didn't say wrong.
No, that I don't think there's anything right or wrong. I think just more of like what may happen. To be honest, it's like crypto are still banned in some countries where you can't use a credit card to buy and stuff like that. Adrian, you have something to share?
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment so much on government regulation, but I think when you talk about things like Axie, and we start thinking about sort of the play economy, it becomes very interesting. I mean, this is where we start going into space a little bit, and we start thinking about, what really will happen in time. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could own, if you could already own some kind of digital asset, avatar, NFT, something like that, which you could then basically lease out to other players of a game within a game ecosystem where you would get paid a cut. So you're basically earning passive income through this sort of new kind of way. Now, this I think over time will become a lot more prevalent. I think we're looking at some kind of distance from now. I think NFTs. When I go back and I put my marketing hat back on, and I think NFTs are more for either collectibles. People like to collect things because they're scarce. So yeah, I think it's more interesting to be able to look at how one as a brand can create perceived scarcity. Collect, buy. Let's use a Sprite example because I like Sprite. Buy 5 bottles of Sprite and get access to a behind the scenes video chat with someone in Fortnite in a metaverse or something. I think that becomes more interesting. I think this sort of play to earn economy sort of thing is going to be very interesting, but I think we're still in some markets it's big, like Philippines, where regulation is more interesting. But I think in time, it's going to become more real. But then I think we're looking at blockchain, we're looking at Web3, we're looking at and Web3 where advertising becomes far less important generally anyway. And this is a massive step change for brand marketers that they're going to have to get their head around. And that's where I spend many hours chatting to them about this kind of stuff. And it's more about, but I kind of come back to what's the here and now and what's the next year and what are people going to see in APAC, for example. And I think, yeah, there'll be more play to earn stuff or passive income, but I think it's going to be much more around blockchain type stuff outside of buying an NFT and keeping it because it's cool, or you want to use it as your profile picture or something equally cool. And I know you've got quite a few. I like the Halloween ones particularly because they're fun. But outside of that, it's more of, I think it's going to be more brands like Coca-Cola was a great example recently of taking, embracing sort of earlier blockchain kind of NFT type stuff and using that within part of a marketing bridge to be able to define and give that value exchange, that innovation back to their potential customers. And that's where the bridge of it all comes together before sort of 3 to 5 years when the metaverse, changes everything anyway, potentially. Big words there.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's say, for example, moving forward, okay, like Axis Infinity and a whole bunch of all these guys, a lot of them start to create their own games, and then at the same time, they start to sell, NFT, the tokens and stuff like that. So if customers are able to buy directly, so let's say, for example, someone came out with a blockchain game, and then I'm actually putting your whitelist and stuff like that, and you're able to buy directly. Do you see any direct impact or indirect impact to business like Gamer More or even Adrian, to brands themselves?
For CGM, actually, I would say that, okay, we always embrace the change, right? So when come to this NFT era, the blockchain era wise, I believe that all this game, when people want to buy, even they want to buy inside the game, I believe that they need a point that where can make payment. They need to have a point that where can pay in their own currency. CGM, actually, we are not just only position ourselves as just e-commerce tools, just selling the game credit and all this game stuff. Actually, we also act as the payment gateway to all the partners as well. So because due to our unique business model and also development, so our platform able to support up to 51 currency, if no mistaken, and also we have I think more than 100 of the recent my calculation is 250 plus of the payment method on our platform. So I guess when this NFT games and all this blockchain game era comes, so CGM able to help this publisher to able to reach out to their audience, their customer easy. So in fact, that in a short, okay, CGM, we have multiple of the business model. Yeah.
Okay, so that means you can I assume like it's sort of like a bit more future proof? That means you're not so worried about NFT, customers coming directly to them buying it, because you're not just providing as a buy and sell. You're actually providing much more value-added services on top of it.
Yeah, true.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I coming to 9 o'clock. I just want to ask one last question before we open it to the floor. In 2021, last year, while China itself has almost about 720 million gamers, and roughly around 110 millions of them are under the age of 18. Okay, and somehow it becomes it becomes such a big problem of gaming addiction that the authority actually stepped in with curfews to restrict gameplays and stuff like that. Targeting the younger crowds who are they basically eat into their social life and all this lah. Okay, we're not talking about politics and all this. But there are not many countries like China who actually just come in and then hit the curfew and all this. I think businesses more or less will get hit here and there, left and right and all this. Now the question here would be, when games itself is not restricted by borders, meaning that you can play almost literally all kinds of games. I mean, some games may be restricted in certain countries, but there's always certain technologically way of software to work around it. So now my question here is that, do you see gaming itself to be more globalized now, or do you see it more localized? Because some games, when they launch it in multiple languages. But some games, they launch it only in one single language, okay? And they usually go for the largest market, and then subsequently, they localize it for other markets. So I won't say that there's right or wrong strategy and all this, but it seems that a lot of companies are start to adopt all this. Do you see a way that it may actually uniform it, or do you see this as the way to go? Continue down the road where even though you have a more access to all these in much more advanced way compared to last time. Adrian, Raymond?
All right, let me go first.
Adrian is shy.
In this case,
Since when?
Since when?
Sorry, go
In this case, actually, I would say that it's very depends. I believe that all the publisher, they want to get as much player as they can. Yeah, because that's this is how they define the value of the game that they are published. All right, cool. When it comes to either they want to globalize or localize, right? Or honestly, I don't see it as a localization is a bad thing, because localization also has to see in many angles as well, in terms of the content itself, or in terms of the language or the accessibility of the games. Yeah. So when it comes to globalization, actually there's proof that the publisher, they want to get more player on board. Yeah. And also they want to make as much as many as value as this game could be. Yeah. So if they have to restrict the gameplay, definitely I think it's the regulation of the certain country. So recently, I think it's quite famous. I mean, not just recent. I think it's been 2 years ago. Like India has banned the China apps, so it has caused for instance, the PUBG, the publisher Tencent have to change their strategy. Yeah, in order to maintain their gamers play as well. Yeah. So in short, so I think publisher, they still want people to play their games, but then what makes them to change the way the game presents, I think definitely is the regulation.
I'd agree with that. Just jumping in, I'd agree, and I think PUBG is a really good example of that. In China, and it's called something else in China, but you can't show blood. I think I'm trying to remember which way around it was. I think you saw wisps of smoke, like from the old Lost show. Whereas in India, I think it's now green blood from memory. So local market nuances become really important when you're looking at localization of apps and particularly games. I also think that that's a really important thing to consider when you're launching particular games. And who's ever heard of Inner Sloth, right? Now, Inner Sloth is a publisher that made Among Us, and Among Us is one of the most successful games in the last year, but only in certain markets. And there's a lot of the markets, and it was a great way to collaborate with friends in lockdown. And who remembers Flappy Bird? It's the same sort of thing. Now, these don't all work in all markets. And that's the reality, because different cultures like different things, or to localize something. If you look at, let's go back to APAC again, because this is where we are. But you look at somewhere like very very established markets, like some North Asian markets, like China, Taiwan, etc., versus something like a strategic growth market like India. Yes, you will want to take a PUBG. And launch it into a strategic growth market like India, because if you can win it, you win. Similarly, if you go North China, if you can win it, you win. But there's a lot of cost of doing that, and the return may or may not be worth it. It's not just like you've got to localize the dialogue, right? You've got to localize so much of it. There's so many local government legislations. Look at Vietnam. It's not going to it, but there's a whole sort of challenge around ads in Vietnam at the moment in games. Well, they can be, but also different distributors have different rights of IP in different markets. So it's not like I'm going to create an app and I'm going to put it out to all markets, because I'll work with a local market distributor in China or in Japan or someone else who might even localize it for me in a particular market. But then it goes really well, but then they can't even license it further. So it becomes, there's a whole kind of web of dare I say, mess, organized chaos, possibly brackets disorganized chaos, in certain scenarios where it becomes a lot more challenging. But what we do know is mobile gaming habits show that gamers will play more than one title at the same time, and they'll generally install 5 to 6 games a month. So there's enough opportunity. If you multiply that, there's more people own smartphones than they own toothbrushes globally. I heard that as a random stat today on another gaming panel, which I thought was quite amusing, but also true because I went and checked it. And that can't be right, but it is. So if you think 5 or 6 games per person per toothbrush, there's enough opportunity to get a fair share of voice. You don't need to have a global app game. It helps, but it just sometimes the cost of it isn't worth it. However, what we might see, I have a sneaking suspicion where you that question might have been leading. What we might see is where there might be convergence across platforms. So if you look at big IP franchises like Assassin's Creed, if you look at that's probably a really good example actually, where you've got like a mobile game. It may or may not relate too much to the actual gameplay of the real game on console or PC, but it's leveraging off the halo of the franchise. That's where we will expect to see more crossover, I guess, between mobile, console, PC, that kind of stuff. I mean, you've only got to look at EA acquired Glue for about $1 billion, I think, from memory. Please don't quote me on that, but it was something like that. Activision bought King, who make Candy Crush a few years ago. I mean, the reality is console gaming hardware is streaks ahead of mobile at the moment. So it's going to stay kind of separate for a while, but we'll start to see crossover. And of course, the metaverse will change all this in time anyway, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Very, very good insight. Okay, here in the chat box, there are a couple of questions. Erickson he was asking, he actually asked that quite early. MMORPGs or WoW, you probably know World of Warcraft, is built on social gaming. How is it different from metaverse, base game? Are they the same? Anybody want to take a?
That's a great question. Well, it comes back to the joke that I always use is that, or the question that I always ask people: how do you define a metaverse right now? A metaverse is a concept. It's ethereal. It's not overly real yet. I mean, we have specific a metaverse is a sandbox. It's a platform. So you look at Roblox, which is one of the few places where you can advertise to children or put ads in front of children of a young age. That's a lot of that is curated experiences or games within let's call it an operating system for argument's sake, but a platform. That's a metaverse. Fortnite is a metaverse because you can go and hang out with friends and watch a movie there. Christopher Nolan launched Tenet there from memory. Travis Scott did something there. Ariana Grande did something there around launching music. But you can also play games. So there is it depends on how you define the word metaverse. It's social, it's online, and you can hang out with friends. Is that enough? A lot of people would say no. Some people would say yes. Some people, Paddy and I could sit in a pub and probably argue this for half an hour. But do you want to call it a very early stage metaverse? Maybe. Of course, the patches and the games they roll out now, because this is a IP franchise in the same way. You could argue that some of the newer ones are arguably metaverse or metaversi. But maybe the earlier ones not so much. This comes down to terminology and definitions of things that haven't really been defined yet. I would argue.
So probably, I guess, as time goes by, the definition will probably be clearer, and to see how things can actually link them up together.
Yes, because you'll have convergence.
Okay, thanks. There's another question from Carl. Is there any difference in the way you could engage a PC gamer to a console player?
I think question. I can take this one.
Go for it. You have to, because he's a Man City fan and I can't talk to Man City fans.
I guess, Carl, I think I know him. All right, cool. Thanks, Carl, for the question. All right, PC gamers and console gamer actually they are quite similar. Honestly, they are actually quite high spending power gamers, right? But one of the things that one of the small thing I see the difference between PC gamer and console player, which is they have their own different calendar. Yeah, console player, I think everyone's know the mainstream one would be like PS, Xbox, and Nintendo. Yeah, PC gamer wise, I think the biggest right now, which is the Steam. So they have their own different calendar. So probably if you want to target them, engage them, we need to have to work around their timeline. Yeah, for different timeline, different date, we have different approach to all of them.
Okay, one question just to add on to this. PC gamers are probably there may be a need to upgrade, or rather, I at least the friends I know of, they always keep constantly upgrading. It's like building a nuclear weapon. They keep upgrading nitrogen here and there and everything. But whereas for console like your PS4, PS5, even the Xbox, all this, the launches that they have we are not talking about by months. It's usually pretty like PS4 and PS5. The in between gaps are huge. Okay, whereas for for PC games, you can just buy a bit of this and that. But here's the thing: if they are playing exactly the same games, couldn't it be more cost effective to get a console rather than on a PC? I mean, it's just a random question, sir. Any experience on that?
I saw some of people comments online is talking about that the money they spend on PC gaming PC and also console actually PC gaming actually cost them a lot. Yeah, but then the experience would be different. PC games they can enjoy like multiple screen, they can have like a faster FPS and faster response rate. Yeah. Also, I mean, they can play more games than some people may argue on this. Okay, all right. I think I wouldn't go for the more games this part.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess Raymond, you're using a console or you're using PC or both?
No, mobile.
Mobile. Adrian, how about yourself?
Sorry, I missed the question. What was the question? What am I doing?
You're more on a console guy or more of a PC guy?
I vary. I own a PlayStation 5, so that's the gimmick at the moment. I play a lot of mobile games. I play a lot of PlayStations. Since I joined our colony, I use a Mac rather than a PC, so I play less PC games these days, obviously. I vary between mobile and console, PlayStation, depending on the motivation for playing, to be honest. Motivations are key when you're reaching the audiences anyway. So.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, there's another question. Do you guys play any NFT games? Any of you play any NFT games? Axis, Infinities, and stuff like that? No?
For me, for this one, actually, I do have some comments. Like, for this moment, I think NFT games, they are actually still quite new. They are, the mechanism inside the game actually is quite pretty simple. For gamers, a real gamer, they may think it's not challenging enough. Yeah. So I think the people who right now is playing the NFT games, definitely they are looking into for future investment. So are they a real gamer? Then it's a questionable.
I see. Okay. So yeah, for the rest of the audience here, please feel free to ask us any questions on your chat box if you have any. Okay. So another question is that what is the NFT games that is good to play or invest now or future? Do you guys dabble into that? No. Okay.
Not so much these days.
Okay. Okay. So probably let me just share a bit more. Well, I understand that Axie Infinity is really big now. I mean, I myself, I dabble into NFT for the past 2-3 years. Crypto, probably 10 plus years. But my understanding is that I don't play any of the games. I mean, I rarely have time for myself. The only games I play is if with my kids when they're playing, Need for Speed, they can't cross this particular then they would just call me, ask me, and make use of me. I win it for them, and then they, okay, please stand one side, let me continue, that kind of stuff. But I understand Solchick, Solchick, Solchick is also booming, despite it is not even available yet. It's sort of like pre-listed. People start buying, and then based on this Solana, the crypto, and then the price seems to go up quite a fair bit. So it's quite interesting that I don't know whether does people invest on it or just play on it. But my understanding is that NFT game seems to be pretty plain, okay, pretty plain compared to the much more complicated games that you can probably get, on the very your console or your PC. So I'm not quite sure exactly for the NFT games, is it investment? But I do know people actually do spend quite a lot of money on that. Okay, John is asking a question. What's the average lifespan of a typical games? Okay, that's interesting.
All right.
Sorry, go on.
Hey, Adrian, no, sorry, Adrian, there you go first.
I was going to say it really depends on the quality of the game and whether it rides that wave. I was going to argue. So Among Us was a great example I used before. They shelved launching Among Us 2 to add more features to Among Us, so they don't have to download it twice. But you probably have much better insight actually from your line of work. So I'll leave that one with you.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Adrian. It's about the quality of the game itself, so the mechanism, and also the entire development plan of the game. So, for instance, like Honor of King is one of the mobile game in China. Actually, it's been in the market I think more than 5 years, and even Mobile Legends actually they are celebrating the 5th anniversary this year. So some of the good games actually can last very long, and also the player are really stick around with it. But some of the games, just like what you say, Among Us, then I think after 1 year, yeah, it died.
I think also a lot of games also depends on how upgradable and all this. My understanding is that, for example, like GTA. GTA is awesome, especially on the PC, where a lot of people mod the game, MOD. I've seen friends playing the characters as Superman going around, and it was like, wow, GTA Superman. you literally own the whole world. You don't probably have to rob the bank or something. I think it's also the way the ecosystem start to support, especially if some of that actually opens up, for you to build tools around it, and for you to make sure that the playability actually continues. Okay, I think so. But I can share the average lifespan, at least if for kids, is probably 1 month. After they are done, and then that's it. They just move away. Okay. What is your take on a play to earn game? Play to earn game.
Play to earn game is NFT game here. So people try to play the game and earn NFT tokens.
Yeah. Do you see this take out the fun of playing a game where everything becomes so commercialized? You sort of like literally play to make a living.
I guess it will come back to just now what my statement is. I am for this moment, NFT game is still very beginning, very raw, I would say. So, but I believe that in the future, so the developer might be able to make it more interesting, more engaging, and the mechanism will be more complicated than what it is right now.
Yeah.
Adrian, any comment?
I totally agree. I think they're fun things to take a punt on at the moment, and if you win, then you might win well. Like Axie, if you bought an Axie at the beginning, well done. Soul Chicks could be the new one, but they are quite basic mechanisms, or it could be a card game or something like that, right? I think over time, I think they become more interesting. The thing is, I'm a marketer, right? And I always read the narratives of the upcoming games, like Idle Cyber, for example, which sounds like one of the best futuristic games ever. I think of Cyberpunk, but it won't be. I mean, probably. But Raymond's got a great point. I think over time, the technology will improve, the ability will improve, the metaverse will make this stuff change anyway in time. But I think at the moment it's something that's fun to do if one can everyone feels that it's something that they can afford to invest and lose on. But I think over time, it might become a lot more mainstream. I still go back to the fact that NFTs, for me at the moment, yeah, some of them are collectibles, some of them are kind of your passive earn, sort of play to earn stuff. But I still think, until brands really work it out properly, which they're starting to do, and I put my marketing hat back on here and start offering it and creating scarcity, but perceived scarcity, which people want, and there's high demand for it, then I still think it's going to be quite a small subset of technologically minded or interested people. It's not easy, arguably, to go and set up a wallet, to go and buy some ETH, to go and do something, to go and buy these things in the first place. And until it becomes easy, it doesn't become mainstream.
Yeah, it can be rather complicated. Because you're not using fiat, you're not using credit cards. You probably go to crypto. So this also means that the entry barrier may also be there, and that may probably be allocated only to a small groups of gamers or investors.
But just to take that point slightly further, if you're earning an NFT, not buying an NFT as an experience from a brand, then you don't necessarily have to go through half the challenges because it's like a one-time use or something. And that's where I see it becoming more mainstream and more people wanting to do it, which is where the play economy might, or play to earn, should I say, might then start to grow. That's where the metaverse will come in. And that's a few years away yet, I reckon, to be honest.
So Adrian, just to add on to what you said, does it mean that brands may actually just adopt themselves into NFT to make it easier for everyone to own it, but yet at the same time associate with the message that they're trying to position or the product that they're trying to position? Then I keep the NFT, and then there's some form of utilizations. Is that where you?
Yeah, it's just another activation channel. So go and buy five of my product and get this thing that is not collectible anywhere else, but there's not many of them. So keep it, and it might allow you to do something now, but it might also allow, like, I don't know, enter something in a metaverse. But in time, it might allow you to do something else again as well. So hang on to it just in case. So again, you're creating demand, you're creating urgency, you're creating a product that is scarce but can only be done. This is what a lot of people like to talk about omnichannel and offline to online to offline, or O2O2O, is and that's the sweet spot for all brands, right? At the end of the day, brands spend marketing money to sell products or service. That's the only reason they exist, right? So if they don't do that, whether it's brand awareness or conversion, it's still part of the same marketing funnel to some degree. So where they can embrace new technology, where they are potentially going after a younger audience, who, the Gen Zs are the first audience ever that have grown up with the internet. We remember the internet being born after we were alive, right? So that step change, but that step change is so different. I interviewed someone a while back, and I explained to them that I was born before the internet, and then they fell off their chair. Made me feel very old. But it's interesting because I have a different mindset. But I understand how to talk to Gen Zs. But Gen Zs look at it, it just is. It's not like it could be or will be. It just is. So that's where brands can start to play in a lot more intriguing way about how to market to potential future customers who have a longer lifetime value, potentially, depending on the products.
Okay, that's good insight. That's good insight. Okay, we have Carl, probably not a Man U fan or something like that. Okay. He has a question. It's basically an open question. When does gaming becomes gambling?
Pretty interesting.
That's a very philosophical question, I think.
Yeah, but perhaps he lost the games, and then, or maybe he wins the game. I don't know, on the football.
Isn't the answer when the regulations tell you it is? Skill games are arguably an entry. Unpaid skill games are arguably a way to activate people into spending money on betting. Could be one direction of that. And I worked in the UK many years ago on building out the whole positioning narrative for this. There are other kind of skill games as well. I think things like Axie and everything else becomes that becomes a really interesting point. But I think that's more of a philosophical debate. I mean, Raven, what do you reckon?
Okay. I think Carl is referring to one of the things I recently happened in Malaysia. So PUBG games. So PUBG used to have a lot of in-game items. So then it makes the people need to draw for it. So and then the percentage for them to draw for their favorite in-game item, the chances actually pretty low. So which means people need to spend a lot of money in order to able to draw that particular items. So yeah, and then the community actually have feedback on this recently. They're saying that okay, 10 cents you should like just give a price of the in-game item instead of you make people draw for it. So yeah, this make people feel like okay, 10 cents right now, PUBG right now is kind of like a gambling. It's a haram in the Malay, the Muslim community.
Okay, so this becomes a bit sensitive when it's sort of like borderline religion, borderline gambling, illegal and all this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carl, hopefully you have your answer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Could you guys share your experience working in not gambling community, in a gaming community? What are the do's and the don'ts? This one can be quite a long quite a long explanation. Anybody want to give the short version of it, Adrian or Raymond? Your experience working in the gaming community.
Let me go for this. Okay. I would say that gamers, they are sensitive. So they are very sentimental. So if you're able to understand them and if you're able to provide what their needs, and from they can sense you. If you do it, something is not sincere, not from the heart, the community will just like go against you. But if you do something right, okay, they will be loyal to you. That's my take.
I think that's a fair answer. I mean, I would say one more thing is that one of the most challenging things to get your head around when you're thinking about gaming is that every single person is a gamer, whether it's your slightly older mum for me, your old dear mum, or maybe a son or a daughter. Everyone's a gamer, and that means everyone is a potential customer if you're marketing, or everyone is a potential player of your game if you're a publisher or a distributor. And you have to talk to them differently. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for someone to get their head around when they are looking at it from any sort of business, through any sort of business lens. My wife loves playing Sudoku. If I asked her if she was a gamer, she'd throw the phone at me. No, she wouldn't. But she'd go, no, I'm not a gamer. But she'll sit there and play Sudoku on her phone. But she's not a gamer, because one of the interesting points, just as a side note, but one of the interesting points about that we learn quite quickly in marketing here, and when we start dissecting the numbers, is that of the 5 sort of key personas of marketing, 2 or 3 of them don't actually identify as gamers, and that in itself becomes quite an interesting thought, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, we are coming probably to the last question. This is from Erickson. We have heard of unethical farming, such as prisoners made to play games to farm. I'm not quite sure. Grind for in-games items or gold. Do you think monetizing game farming grinding will create another level of yield, probably social yield? I'm not quite sure whether is this an appropriate question for you guys to answer. Using prisoner. Okay. Perhaps anybody want to attempt? If not, then we can just jump to the next one.
I think that comes back to philosophy.
Okay, Ken. Okay, well, we're coming to 9:30. I think that will probably be wrap up on the last questions. And if anybody wants to get in contact with Raymond from Gamer Mall, Adrian from Ad Colony, please check out this chat box. Under the chat box, this is where all the links are, and you can probably add them in the LinkedIn, and then you can talk to them directly. Then in the meantime, I'll just pass the mic back to Rebecca.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, for all the speakers, especially the moderator, for asking really good questions, also to the floor. And yeah, okay, so last but not least, before everybody goes, okay, let me do a quick sharing over here. Okay, so if you're holding a mobile phone and you want to do a quick scan to connect with any of us, anything related to upcoming events or Xperinia or hosting or participate events like this, you can actually connect me with via LinkedIn over here, or you want to talk to our moderator or our panelists for further discussions or questions, you can actually connect them via LinkedIn over here. All right, or you can just check out the chat box for the links. So our upcoming event will be talking about common market entry strategies as well as opportunities. The timing over here is based on is in Bangkok time. So based on Singapore time is 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. All right. So yeah, if you guys are interested for such events like this, do follow us on our social media, or even just sign up an account on Xperinia, and then we will blast all the EDMs regarding all these interesting events to keep you posted. All right, anyway, thank you so much for taking your time out for attending this panel discussion today, and I hope you guys have a good week ahead. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.